All right, Shandon, welcome to the people of Utah.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, I'm excited. So, Shandon, let's start with where you're from and how you ended up being here in Provo with us.
Yeah, nope. I'm from Monticello, Utah. It's a tiny little town southeast Utah. It's like an hour south of Moab, a little bit north of Blanding, if you've heard of that. But yeah, graduating class was like 35, 40 kids. Oh, super small town, population of like 2,000.
What do people even do for a living in Monticello? Is it all like farm
A
area?
lot of farm, a lot of ranching. So I was a ranch hand for 5 years while I was there, like throughout high school and a little past. But yeah, my dad worked for Utah Highway Patrol. My mom was like a dispatcher there, or like a dental hygienist or a assistant for a little bit as well. So, yeah, I don't know. People just find things, but lots of ranchers, lots of farmers.
Okay,
It's a little bit of couple restaurants and things, but
fun. And then you left Monticello to pursue a career in what?
yeah. So I moved up to Provo to come to BYU after I served an LDS mission, and he came to Provo. I've always wanted to be a pharmacist. Kind of knew that I wanted to be a pharmacist at seventh grade. So
Really? That's pretty young.
yeah, so you take like the career test in seventh grade. You answer all the questions, and it spits out like your interests and what you'd be good at. So I had like a dentist, a pharmacist, and like a chiropractor.
Okay.
And so like Monticello, everybody. So I went to those three people in town and got their feedback and kind of saw what they were doing, and the pharmacist stuck out the most. And yeah, that's what I went through. That's what I went
That's awesome.
did. So
That's funny because I remember when I took that test in seventh grade, I got dentist,
You got
and
dentist?
I planned on it for a long time, for years. I'm like, yeah, I'll just be a dentist.
yeah,
And then when I got older, I didn't know. I just didn't really care for it anymore.
yeah,
But it was funny. Whenever I go to the dentist, and I was like, still like, I don't know, junior high, high school. They're like, so, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I'm like, I'll be a dentist. I'm like, no way. Like, the dentist
Yeah.
was so hyped about that. But
right.
anyway,
It's
well, that's cool, man.
It's super competitive, the industry.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, I got a good friend actually. I've taken a lot of classes with. He's going to dental school and stuff. What's interesting about that, dude, is like it's such a regulated industry because dental schools only accept a certain number of people,
Yeah.
right? So like the demand and supply is different, right? You can have 100,000 kids get a job in computer science, but only 50,000 jobs created that year, and so it's pretty tricky. But for dentists, it's pretty consistent. Is it
Yeah.
probably the same for pharmacy?
It goes up in waves, up and down. Just right now, I'm graduating in like perfect time. So I graduate next week. But like the market's awesome. Like everybody in my class can be able to find a job super easily, and there's sign-on bonuses coming back up.
Nice. Okay, so you're in a good spot. You're at a good
Yeah,
time.
really good timing right now.
Good
So,
for you, man. So being from Monticello, small town, you were a ranch hand. I understand you are a big fan of hunting, fishing, all that outdoorsy stuff, right?
yep, love it.
Cool.
Yep.
You've even got a YouTube channel about that. Have you always been a fan? Tell us about that.
Growing up in Monticello, I mainly hunted. So a lot of like deer hunting, mule deer hunting, and elk hunting. I also did a little bit of trapping like bobcats and fox and coyotes and things.
Dang.
So that was a lot of fun. A little bit of fishing in Monticello. Well, I don't know. I just didn't know how to do it as well back then.
Okay.
So I mean, I did it. I loved it, but I didn't really get into fishing until till I moved up here, really. So I don't know, 6 years ago. So yeah, I moved up here, went to school at BYU, and then I lived up by the Jordan River up in Saratoga Springs, and I would go out every single day and throw out the line for catfish, for carp, and then COVID hit, and so I was literally out there every day.
Nice.
The COVID is awesome for me. I found so many awesome, unique spots to go and fish, and you just had all this time.
Get out in nature. Yeah, that's awesome.
Tons of time to go out and fish.
Okay.
So.
I know you create content for that type of stuff, right? Do you give like fishing tips and advice, or what do you do with your content?
Yeah, so I was fishing so much that I was like, I might as well just record it for memories. It's kind of how it started, just memories, and it was fun, fun to record yourself. So, started out, kind of a little bit of how to. I really started out with like bow fishing stuff,
Okay.
So, yeah, started out with bow fishing and ice fishing. Ice fishing, like, it was hard because I didn't, everything freezes up. I never ice fished before. And so I had this big gap from like November to February, March to fill up. So went and bought all the stuff, like a little hand auger, and I filled a bucket.
Nice, dude. That's legit.
Yeah, filled a bucket with like, some tackle, and I used the bucket to sit on, and, just started super cheap and simple. Went out. I remember the first time I went out was like Strawberry Reservoir, which is like one of the most popular reservoirs in Utah. And it was like -3 that morning. And it was really good. I was like out there sitting on a bucket, but I had a heated vest on and everything, so I was prepared, but it was cold. But they caught some really good fish. At the time, it was, my personal best trout, some cutthroat trout. So
Nice.
yeah, and so ever since then, that was several years ago. Now I'm hosting ice fishing tournaments there at Strawberry and Schofield Reservoir, along with my buddy Taylor Hadlock. We did a little bit of podcasting with like ice fishing stuff. I don't know, 2 years ago. But
So you host ice fishing tournaments. How does that work? What's the turnout for that like? And you just score it based on like what the biggest fish or something? How does it work?
yeah, so there was a really big tournament in Utah several years ago, and they decided to stop doing tournaments in Utah. They mainly based out of Colorado now. But they would pull in like 800 people a tournament. So it was big, massive tournament. So once they went out, they did their thing in Colorado. Me and Taylor, my buddy Taylor, were like, well, let's start our own thing. This was like October, and so it's kind of late. You got to like get your licensing and insurance for the tournaments and everything, and you got to advertise it and get your permits, and that usually starts in the summer before.
Sure.
So we were late to the game, but when we threw it all together, I think that first year we got 18 to 20 sponsors, and
Wow.
So the first year we pulled in like 150 people for the first tournament, and around the same for the second. So Schofield was the first, Schofield Reservoir, and Strawberry Reservoir was the second tournament that we do. But those two lakes have never had like tournaments on them before, and they're blue ribbon fisheries, which means that there's awesome, amazing fisheries in Utah.
Okay.
So we decided to host them there. There's untapped land there that we can really get into, and it was great.
That's sweet. How long have you been doing the tournaments for?
We're doing it for 2 years. This upcoming year, we're starting to prepare for. Will be the third year, but it goes off of we like multi-species tournaments.
Okay.
Me and my buddy Taylor, we feel like multi-species requires a lot of skill. You're not just after one fish. Each different species requires a different skill set and rigs and things. So
I mean, I would imagine maybe different bait, but what do you mean different skill set?
So like different jigging cadences, and you have to be able to read terrain, read the contours of the lake, and
Very interesting.
yeah,
Wow.
some fish maybe like kokanee salmon are like in deep water, suspended, underneath the ice, 15 to 20 feet or
Just
so.
gotta know where they're at too.
Yeah, I don't know where they're at. Structure wise, there's I like in Schofield Reservoir there's tiger muskie, which get up to 4 feet long, 4 feet.
Dang,
So they're big, massive fish, but they're usually in really shallow water. You could find them easily in a foot of water, 2 feet of water, and they're gonna eat big giant 8-inch baits. So
what's the biggest fish you've ever caught?
biggest fish, probably a sturgeon. It was 7'4". 7'4" yeah, around that area. It's just on the Snake River. So if you live in Utah, you definitely need to go check out the Snake River. It's 4 hours up the road, and you're catching like several 100-pound fish.
Is it like by Logan or is it by like?
It's in Idaho.
Oh, it's not okay.
Yeah, up in Idaho.
Snake River.
So anywhere along the whole Snake, there's sturgeon.
Okay.
Up it. So
Wow, that's legit.
in Utah itself, probably a pike. Caught a 40-inch pike in Utah. Well, this one was in the summer. I really love ice fishing pond. That's a lot. That's some kind of fun.
That's where you're at.
Yeah, ice fishing, you're hanging massive baits. below the ice. But
Dang.
all of a sudden, I was in my kayak in the summer of last year. But yeah, it's probably my biggest in Utah. Tons of carp from bow fishing, tons of catfish, and I caught a 30+ inch walleye.
Dang, dude, you got quite the resume of fish. That's sick, dude.
It's a ton of fun, man. I love it.
So, what does your shirt mean? Force feed him? That's a fishing term.
Yeah, force feed them on my shirt. It's a bow fishing saying. So like fishing, with a regular rod, you're trying to get them to bite. With a bow and an arrow, you're just forcing it.
Oh, I get it. Okay,
Force feeding them an arrow basically and reeling them in. So
that's awesome.
yeah, it's just a bow fishing saying.
I get it. I like that, dude. That's awesome. Okay.
That's probably my favorite. Bow fishing and ice fishing, man. It's tons of fun. Yeah, loaded with action. So
Very fun. Okay, cool. Yeah, I've always heard of fishing and thinking it required a lot of patience. That's because I always picture just like casting a line and waiting for something to happen. But with the other ones, you're making it happen. So
you're making it.
that's kind of cool. That's a way fun, man.
My wife loves it because it's just you're just shooting after shot after shot after shot.
Yeah.
Bringing in barrels of fish. You can easily have 100 carp day.
There's got to be something deep inside of us, like evolutionarily speaking, that makes us love that. Like our ancestors did that. That's legit, man. I love that.
Sure.
So you lived in Utah your whole life, right?
Yep.
So what would you say is your favorite thing and your least favorite thing about Utah?
Favorite thing is just how diverse it is. We have the desert, we have swamps and sloughs and stuff. You have the mountains, offer all kinds of things. So you can really go. You got sand dunes if you want to go do like motocross stuff. Desert for big desert, like deer hunting stuff. I just started duck hunting as well this last year, so you got the swamps and all kinds of duck hunting opportunities here. Mountains, obviously we're hunting on those as well. So
You just love the outdoors.
I love the outdoors. Yeah,
That's awesome.
love the outdoors. So that's part of the reason why I was also ranch hand. We're just outside all day, every day. So I love that. That I dislike about Utah. The traffic's awful here in the valley.
Yeah, that's true.
So I, coming from a small town, we only had one stoplight, and then most of the time you run it. You're not. So, yeah, I wasn't used to stoplights or this many people.
The number of people. Okay. So, having grown up in such a tiny town, Monticello, right?
Yep.
And then living here in the valley now, what do you prefer? I'm sure there's strengths and weaknesses to both. Do you prefer living in a lot of population or lower population?
Definitely lower population. Yeah, less traffic, less people. But then when you have less people, I feel like socializing is more meaningful. Yeah. So you get to know everybody at a deeper level. I feel like you get to build actual connections. In a small town. There's cons to it as well. Everybody gets in your business sometimes.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I don't know, that could be a good thing in some situations as well.
Yeah,
so
that's interesting.
But living up here, there's a lot more stores and things, and maybe some more opportunities. So it's a give and take thing.
So what about for you as a pharmacist? Would you rather had your practice in a more popular area, or would you want to ideally live in a small town the rest of your life?
Probably a smaller town. I don't know about as small as Monticello.
Okay.
Again, population there is about 2,000 people. I think somewhere like Spanish Fork or Springville, that kind of size where it's like 20,000 people ish.
Nice size, dude.
That's a good size.
I grew up in Spanish Fork, so I love that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a great size. And in Springville, you have all the fields and
yeah,
farmland. You got cows everywhere still. So
exactly.
I think that's a great place. Kind of just that kind of area is kind of where I want to end up.
Okay, that's sweet. Is your wife from Monticello also?
Nope.
How'd you guys meet?
We met on our mission. So she's from Bentonville, Arkansas. I served in Long Beach, California, for the Church of Jesus Christ, and she served in Anaheim, California. in our last 6 months, our missions merged, and we ended up being in Cyprus, the Cyprus area. So I ended up being in the same area. Back then, though, we like butted heads hard. So
Really?
it's kind of a funny story. Yeah, kind of weird. We like butted heads really, really bad. I was one of the leaders, and so was she. And like we were trying to merge these two like conflicting, or like not conflicting, but different ways of doing the missionary work.
Okay.
So they would tract a lot, and we refused to tract, and we just worked through members, and just complete opposite things, ways of thinking.
It's like a classic enemies to lovers story, bro.
Yeah,
That's huge. That's huge.
So, and then we went home the same date. We've dated other people for, I don't know, half a year, and then went on our first date. We went swing dancing. I love dancing. I used to swing dance twice a week, every single week. So,
Oh wow.
a couple buddies, and loved it. Tons of fun. We went swing dancing, and we just kept hanging out. And she friend zoned me at one point. And now we're happily married. So
That's what I'm talking about, man. I love that. I had a similar situation where my wife, for a long time, I didn't think she, I don't know, liked me back. And
Yeah.
she was just like, so I was always initiating conversations and reaching out like, hey. And I realized, you know what? She's only talking to me when I am reaching out to her. Like, I don't think she likes me at all.
yeah,
So I had talked to her for like a week. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to see what happens. I didn't say anything. And then she hit me back after like a week of not talking, like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, okay, I have a shot now. And it ended up working out eventually. But yeah, there was a period of time where I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do anything, and I'll see what happens.
yeah. Give you a piece to bite on.
Exactly, yeah. She threw me the tiniest bone, and I went for it. So
And it's awesome, man.
yeah, man. So, I mean, going from, how old were you when you started your mission?
I was 19.
19. Okay, so growing up in a tiny town, Monticello, up until you're 19 and going to Long Beach, California.
Yeah.
What was that like, dude?
I almost got in so many crashes.
Oh, because of the traffic?
Yeah, because when I first I was Korean speaking there.
Oh.
And my companions, they didn't have like their licenses. They're from Korea, and so I was put right into the driving spot, and it was brutal.
Well, that's an insane, like, densely populated area, too.
Yeah.
Long Beach is
Yeah.
crazy.
Tons of people there, huge population in a small little area. But yeah, I mean, I didn't. That was my first time seeing a one-way road. So like I turned left, and this is like this huge wall of traffic's coming.
Oh my gosh, you
I'm
turned
like,
left?
What is going on? I had no idea, dude. So my companion had to like explain it to me. Like he's like, pull over, get off.
Yeah, get out of here, little Yui.
Yeah. So
That's why.
first time seeing them one-way street. I didn't know those existed. So I mean, yeah, encounters like that. I just had a bunch of like right off the bat. It was definitely culture shock. So
Right on. What would you say, I mean, you have traveled a bit, whatever. What would you say are Utah's greatest strengths and greatest weaknesses?
Utah's greatest strengths.
Yeah, and this also, I mean, it kind of takes it away from your personal experience, right? We know your favorite and least favorite things, but
Yeah.
maybe on a bigger level.
Utah's greatest strengths. I feel like it's we have all these people traveling out of country, serving missions, or just going out and visiting. They speak all these languages. BYU has like the most languages they teach here. It's like
I'm sure.
crazy.
I'm sure.
Crazy amount of numbers, amount of languages they teach, and I don't know. I think they bring in a lot of cool culture. Diversity wise, I don't know. We might not have the most like diverse wise, but I feel like a lot of people know a bunch of different cultures.
That's very interesting. Yeah, like Utah is probably, generally speaking, has a lot more well-traveled people than you'd expect. That's a great point. Like people who leave the country for a year or two. I never thought about that.
Yeah. Weaknesses. Oh, I don't know about. I love Utah, man.
Good. Okay, that's
I love
fine too.
Utah.
That's fine too.
I don't know. There could be some people who might be like one-sided on things, but may not be as open. But I don't know. I think that's kind of rare.
Okay, cool. You just
So
Utah through and through, man.
yeah, I love Utah.
What's your favorite place to go in Utah?
Depends on the season.
Yeah, I was gonna guess it was like a fishing spot or
Yeah,
something like that.
I mean, I love all 4 seasons. So, um, in the winter, I really love Recapture Reservoir.
Where's that?
It's down by Monticello. So it's probably it's probably the best pike fishery in all of Utah. Up there or northeast, there's a lot of walleye and tiger muskie fishing. So winter wise, I'd love it over there. Summer wise, Utah Lake's great. Tons of carp, man. So
Okay.
I'm always bow fishing. Deer Creek's awesome for bow fishing. Pine View's awesome for bow fishing. It's got clear water there too. So
A lot of people go like boating and stuff at Deer Creek. Does
Yeah.
that mess with the?
it does.
Okay.
It messes with it a little bit. You gotta be there early, or be there early in the season. You can be there early in the day, which helps a lot, or early in the season or late in the season. So like early spring, late fall. Those are really good times. But yeah, once you get midday in the summer, you kind of want to get off the boat. It's the way boats are just
Too much noise.
yeah. I mean, you can still catch fish and shoot fish, but it's definitely a pain with the wake boats making all those giant wakes, which I get. They want to have fun with the wakeboarding. So
That's sweet. I want you to tell me really quick, kind of like a 30,000-foot view of your life, because I know that you're doing like clinical rotations, and you're also working, and you're fishing a ton, I guess, and making content, right? What's all going on in your life?
So I can start in a little past too. So at the BYU, I got my prerequisites for pharmacy school. Once I got those, I applied for Roseman, which is a pharmacy school in South Jordan, Utah. It's an accelerated program, so it's 3 years over instead of 4 years. So, they crunch everything down, which makes it pretty busy. But in that way, I'm saving money. I get to work a year earlier, make a bunch of money, So that's on one side of me, I've got pharmacy going on. I'm doing clinical rotations right now at different hospitals. So every 6 weeks, we're moving from hospital to hospital or different pharmacies, and doing all kinds of things from emergency room pharmacy to critical care to cancer medications and some retail stuff as well. So I got that, I got that side. I have a YouTube channel called Shandon Bradford Outdoors. Mainly fishing, recording content, mainly for entertainment. A lot of bow fishing, ice fishing, a little bit of fly fishing, a little bit of regular fishing as well. Got how to build videos like ice fish, how to build like track sleds, ice fishing machines, things like that. And then I'm married, so I got a wife, What else? Hosting ice fishing tournaments.
Yeah.
Hosting bow fishing tournaments. About to graduate, actually, so I'll be a pharmacist in a little bit. Be done with the rotation side.
That's exciting.
So
hold on for a sec. When I think of pharmacist, I always think of like, I don't know, the person at CVS or Walgreens who is the one who's legally authorized to give you the medication or whatever. But in like a hospital, an emergency setting, what do those pharmacists do? Someone comes in and they, I don't know, can tell you what medicine to give them, I guess.
Yeah, so we're for like emergency room stuff. We're looking at what medications they're taking at home, like their med history.
Oh,
so
true.
The emergency medicines, like in critical care, if they're what's the word? I don't remember the word, but if they're not able to get enough oxygen or enough blood, we give medications to help them speed their heart rate up and increase their blood pressure.
Interesting.
If someone crashes or code blue, they're dying on the bed, we're giving them epinephrine and other things to hopefully bring him back. So there's that side of it.
Was that the side you want to be on, or you want to be on a different side of it?
I mean, I could see myself doing it, but I want to just do retail.
Okay.
But there's also like, we're in charge of their insulin dosing. So we're doing a lot of the insulin. We're managing their insulins, their diabetes, the warfarin dosings, their vancomycin, or their like antibiotics for MRSA. We're doing all that. There's also like, I talked to you a little bit before we started this. There's pharmacy informatics. So like all the technology or software systems you see in a hospital that can be programmed and made by a pharmacist. So there's that side of it too. There's pharmacists out there writing all the databases and stuff with medication information. They're writing all that. There's pharmacists who are in charge of like insurance stuff, insurance claims. So there's all kinds of different pharmacists out there.
Never knew that. What I would be interested in is, I don't know, the implementation of AI and machine learning models into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where it'd be like, okay, given, they're on these medications of these doses and they have these conditions, what is like a confidence interval for these medications, right? And the machine can say, okay, I'm 80% confident that giving them this dose of this medication would be helpful and safe. That kind of stuff would be sick.
It'd be cool. It'd be really cool if you included that with like pharmacogenomics. So
oh yeah,
that's like they're taking your genome or your just your DNA, and it's spitting out information like what medications are going to be metabolized really well by you. What medications are going to be metabolized way too fast, and so when you take the medication, you're actually kind of overdosing on it.
Right, personalized medicine, your own body, how it reacts to that stuff.
Yep. Some people may metabolize something, slow or fast, and certain medications you can't even take unless you do get that testing done because it's just too
very
dangerous.
Specialized.
Yeah, very specialized. So that part's really cool. If you could, incorporate that with AI.
This is fantastic, man. I've been, I just graduated technically I'm still doing like one class online.
Yeah.
And I'll officially get my diploma in like June. But yeah, I'm hitting the job search hard, and it's just such a brutal market for me. So this is a whole new world. You're gonna look into it, see what I can do, man.
Pretty cool. The problem is it hasn't like blown up. It's something new, but it hasn't blown up yet because of concerns with like insurance. Like if insurance has that information, they're gonna know what
They're gonna leverage that.
They're gonna
probably
leverage
not for our benefit.
Yeah,
probably for their own benefit.
Yeah, money talks.
100%, dude. Yeah,
that's why. There's some concerns of that, but it's really cool. You get that out, and you know exactly what medications are gonna work good for you, and exactly what dose, and it's great stuff.
So I understand. Also, are you now or only in the past a big video game fan?
So in the past and now, I guess I've never played video games, just like solo player stuff.
Okay, only socially. Okay,
it's only socially. So like in the past, it was always like Xbox 360, and you pull out Black Ops 2, some zombie, because they're
kind of a lot.
Or the GameCube, you pull out some Double Dash or some Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Dude, me and my good friend Ridge were playing Mario Kart Double Dash just the other day on the GameCube. Yeah.
Double Dash is so fun. If you don't know what it is, it's Mario Kart, but there's two people on a cart.
Oh yeah.
And so if you play two people, one person's throwing or punching, the other person's driving. So they need to bring that back.
Yes.
It'd be cool to have modern Double Dash,
So you're an OG gamer fan. You don't really have time for that anymore. Kind of makes sense. You're a pretty busy guy.
Yeah, I'd rather be outside. I don't watch a lot of movies. If I'm watching a movie, it's always with my wife or something. But yeah, I love being outside. So
so that's where
I'd rather do that.
Loyalty lies. I love that. That's cool, man. So switching gears a little bit, tell me about who in your life has inspired you the most and why.
I feel like everybody says their dads, but I'm also gonna say my dad. He's the one who taught me to love and appreciate the outdoors. With hunting, and back then it was mainly with deer and elk, but I've kind of expanded that a lot. And now I'm kind of like teaching him all these new ways to hunt, but like hunt and fish. Yeah, my dad, I'd say he's probably the one that's inspired me the most. And I mean, he's a hard worker. He's driven. So
Okay, love that.
yeah, he's always pushed me in wrestling as well. So I wrestled in high school, which is a hard sport, so you need someone there to kind of motivate you and push you along. So
Did you like compete at like state and high level? Was it like a 1A high school or?
yeah, I was 1A. In wrestling, though, I would say that the school size doesn't matter much. We were competing with, the 5A schools and tournaments, and I was throwing them around too. So
See, for me, so that's good. That's good. I went to a 2A school, so it was really easy to compete at a high level. There was like, I think like my senior year or junior year, I did swim.
okay.
I only did it just for that one season. I went to state, and I think it's like the backstroke or something because it's just so easy with a small high school. But if they're putting you against the big schools, that's different. But
yeah, I mean in state, you're only going up against 1A, but like before state, you're wrestling everybody.
that's sweet, dude.
And that's the tournaments we about to go to, and
You probably had to travel a lot for that in high school, huh? Because like,
Yeah.
what's the nearest high school for?
we had to travel. Living in Monticello, we had to travel up here all the time.
How many hours is that? Like
It was 3.5 to 4.
for high school sports.
Well, if we could went up to Rich, that was like a 6 hour. Well, 6 to 8. I can't remember. It was an even number, so 6 or 8, 6 or 8 hours. But we'd have to go up through Wyoming and cut back west into Rich and for football, which is all the way across the state. So
So you did football, wrestling.
yeah, in Monticello, you do everything.
Okay.
Otherwise,
37 in your graduating class.
yeah, if you don't do everything, if everybody doesn't play every sport, then you're just low on numbers. So, but yeah, football, wrestling. I did track, so I threw the javelin and track. That was kind of my break, because throwing javelins chill. You're just no extra. I mean, I guess the bigger schools probably exercise a little bit more, but I mean, we just throw.
You just show up and throw stuff.
Just show up, throw stuff, and yeah, it was great.
That's great, dude. Okay, cool. So, if you can think of a piece of advice you've received in your life, what's some of the best advice you've received that's actually changed your life?
Probably. I don't know how to exactly word it, but just working hard in school. So I got my associate's degree in high school, and that helped by you get a huge scholarship if you do that.
Was it through UVU?
Yeah.
The UCAS? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called. But yeah,
Cool that they offer it.
No, it was through Utah State.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. I can't remember what it was called exactly, but yeah, you can get your associates in high school. Yeah, you get so the scholarship you get for it's like $4,000 a semester for 4 years, and then I got I came to BYU and got a bunch of other scholarships as well, so I was getting paid thousands of dollars.
So nice, dude.
To go to school.
That's the way to do it.
And I was still working as well, working 20 hours, so I was just saving money.
That's interesting, dude. I think, you are just exuding this personality of work. That's it's a way of life for you, right? It's most people will work in school because they need to for this or that, but your scholarships and all that is already covering school and then some.
Yeah.
But you're still working in college just because, I don't know, you can't have that much time on your hands. You're just.
Yeah, always. I mean,
that's the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was nice to always have something to go to. I'm kind of known to be a little restless.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if I'm not studying, I might as well be at work making some money.
So that's awesome, man. I love that for you.
I got expensive hobbies too, so
That's true. You got to maintain your lifestyle.
I gotta maintain
you
the
gotta
hobbies.
grind.
So yeah.
Okay, so the advice is more of just a way of life that you kind of adopted, which is just being a hard worker. What about, is there any point in your life that if you could, you'd go back to give yourself advice in hindsight?
It would always be hobby-wise. I think career-wise, I've done decent. Man, I knew exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, that's true.
From 7th grade, so I never swapped majors and never wasted money in that regard, and always knew exactly what class I needed to take. So hobby-wise, it would be living down in Monticello, like you need to get into ice fishing earlier. You need to get into waterfowl hunting earlier because down there's tons of waterfowl, tons of geese, tons of different ducks and diver ducks, and it was yeah, awesome. Like I wish I would have gotten into some of that more.
Right on.
Awesome, great fishing down there. You know, Lake Powell's only 2 hours away from there, so awesome. There's great fishing there.
You seem just very, I don't know, I love it. You're just content and confident in who you are in your life, man. That's so solid.
Yeah, thank you, man.
I love
Great
that.
hunting down there. So, I don't know, career wise, I mean, anesthesiologists make a lot of money. It'd be nice to, but I don't know if I could last that long in med school. Like med school is super competitive. It's pretty vigorous. So, I don't know. I think I'm happy and content with pharmacy. So
I actually was reflecting a couple weeks ago with a friend about like, dude, if I could, I don't know, go to med school, go back in time and redo things, I think I would consider med school and anesthesiology for that exact same reason.
anesthesiology is so cush.
Sounds chill.
So
Money's
chill.
crazy. It's like, it's legit, dude.
So as like in pharmacy school, we get to go and watch surgeries, but we're like with the anesthesiologist and we're just talking meds, you know, what medications are using, dosages and adverse reactions and mechanism of action. And, you know, we're just chatting it up with the anesthesiologist, but yeah, I mean, it's a serious job. Like you're putting somebody so close to death that they have to get paid a lot because the
precision required to not kill him with, exactly. That's a good way to say it
too. Like they could get sued so easily and so fast, you know. And so yeah, they get paid high for a reason. You know, they got to monitor everything pretty closely. But I mean, in the end of the day, they're just sitting in a chair and they could dink around on their phone. You know, if something's wrong, the alarm's gonna set off. You know?
Yeah, they'll get in there.
So
Fun stuff, man. That's cool.
nice.
So, how would you define? You know, everyone's got a different perspective on it. How would you define success?
I think as long as you're happy, you know, you're happy what you're doing, you're happy with. I mean, if you're satisfied with work, right? You're making enough you're not. I don't know. You're not living from paycheck to paycheck, but I mean, even then, you could be successful. You know, you're still like loving life. Then I think if that's how financials are, and you're still loving life, then that's successful. I don't know. I think everybody needs to find something that they just love, though. I think in pharmacy, like I see it, people who are like maybe low in their mood, they're maybe depressed. You know, it's because there's not something that they just absolutely love to do. I mean, that's when I'm giving vaccines. That's one of my favorite questions to ask people. Just like, you know, a little distracting question, so they're not focusing on the needle.
Yeah,
Is like, what are your hobbies? What things do you like to do? Or what things do you love to do? Or, you know, anything along that lines. And it's really, really cool to see and hear all these different answers. You know, we give like in a flu season, you know, or, you know, in the winter, we're giving hundreds and hundreds of vaccines. So I'm getting like hundreds and hundreds of different hobbies and quite different things that people love to do. And yeah, there's some very unique things I hear. And there's some people too where it's like, oh, I don't know, I don't have any hobbies. And it's kind of sad, you know. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of sad, and you know, you almost wish better for. I don't know.
Yeah, you wish they could have something.
I wish they could have
forward
something.
to.
Yeah, look forward to. You know, you have a job that they're putting money towards, and I don't know. I think you got to have a goal or something you love to do to be happy. So
That's interesting. Okay, I love that. How about, I mean, you mentioned, you know, your mission, how you met your wife and stuff. How has faith or belief in a higher power impacted your life?
it's really powerful, I think. I don't know, if you don't believe in a higher power, then it's like, what's the purpose of this life? But yeah, it's kind of like a compass or an arrow, you know, and you kind of know exactly where you're going and what things you need to do to get there, and it brings you joy and brings you happiness to serve and help others and to live the gospel principles. So, you know, even if I didn't know about the church, you know, about religion or about God or anything, it still its teachings is that's how I would want to live my life anyway. You know, from experience, it just brings happiness and joy. So I think it's the best way to live your life.
Love that.
So
It's fantastic, man.
Okay, so we mentioned like, you know, you were talking about how you run into a lot of people who don't have hobbies and you kind of feel like, oh, I wish they had something to look forward to. What would you to say to somebody out there who might be struggling to find their own meaning or their own purpose?
yeah, I think there's always a lot of clubs and things that you can get into. A lot of people, a lot of, I don't know, college age or student age people kind of bash and hate on Facebook, but Facebook has like so many different kinds of groups. Like if you're into like RC, you know, I see a lot of people like doing RC car stuff of like rock climbing or whatever with RC cars. Like there's huge groups on Facebook for that. People you can meet up and join and go and hang out with, and you know you get around people with common interests as you. Same thing for me, it's like bow fishing. There's big bow fishing groups in every single state. So if you're listening in Utah, if you're listening in California, Wyoming, you know, Florida, wherever, there's huge bow fishing groups and communities you can go and hang out. There's tournaments you can go and do.
Find it through Facebook. That's probably a good point. You can probably find anything you're interested
Yeah.
in Facebook.
Ice fishing groups are huge. Fishing groups are massive. I don't know what hobbies you like. I'm sure there's
It's sports mostly.
sports.
Yeah,
There's
you
like
got all that
all
kind
kinds of
stuff.
sports on
Yeah.
Facebook.
I like video games. So.
Yeah, video game groups. There's I've seen clubs and stuff, you know, for like video games, all kinds of consoles and specific games and specific consoles.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's always a group out there that is wanting that, you know, get around with other people that have similar interests, similar personalities, and
It's great.
yeah.
I didn't ask you. Tell me a little about your family. So I know you have your dad was Utah Highway Patrol, but I don't really know much besides that.
Yeah, my parents are divorced. They got divorced when I was like 13 or 14. So pretty brutal age, I would say.
The toughest spot for
Yeah.
that to happen. Yeah.
Tough spot. I'm the oldest sibling. So I have me, my sister's 2 years younger, and then my brother, who's 6 years younger. But yeah, no, it was pretty rough for all three of us. And then my dad got remarried. And now I have, you know, I got a stepbrother that's my same age, a stepsister that's the same age as my younger sister, and another stepsister that's the same age as my biological brother. So, but yeah, no, I just call them brothers and sisters now. We're all pretty close, you know. My dad and his wife still live in Monticello. My mom moved up here, up north, you know, Salt Lake area. She works for the FBI now.
Are you still close to both your parents?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep, super close with both of them. Growing up, you know, we're 50-50 each house. So I could actually throw a baseball from my dad's backyard and hit the front door of my mom's yard. So my mom's house. So yeah, no, we just run back and forth and
I'll tell.
you know, do what we wanted, sleep where we wanted, and it was great. I mean, I think that's how it should be. You know, for your parents in a good situation, you know, and yeah, I think 50-50, you kind of do what you want with each parent.
So with your parents divorcing at age 13, how are ways that you coped with that might be helpful for other people out there?
It was pretty hard, man. That might be why I was always driven to be out of the house, maybe, and always doing something. I don't know. That could be something. You know, I didn't want to be around the conflict as much, so I was always out either trapping or hunting rabbits and trapping squirrels back then, you know, and rats and mice, and I was just trying to be outside as much as possible. Yeah. So I think that's probably maybe where I got the love for the outdoors, is I didn't want to be around that conflict, probably.
Yeah. How has that affected relationships for you growing up and being married yourself now?
I mean, you look back at it now, and you're like, I don't want to ever put my kids through that, and my wife's parents are divorced as well, so you know, we both have that discussion pretty deeply with. You know, we've been married for about 4 years now, and you know, we always talk about what we want better for our kids. You know, I think every parent probably does that, but Yeah, no, it's a learning experience. It's something that you look at and you want something maybe better. But yeah,
Well, I appreciate you opening up and sharing that.
yeah.
Um, what do you hope to accomplish in your life?
In my life right now, I think it changes from, I don't know, maybe changes from year to year or stages in life. But right now, graduate in a week from pharmacy school. And then I have, the board exam and I have a law exam I got to pass. So right now, it's like really focusing on that and trying to accomplish that in my life. Just being a pharmacist. So right now, I work at Costco as a pharmacy intern. And Costco's like the greatest retail place to land for, as a pharmacist, like in any retail store ever.
Okay.
Because like CVS, I mean, not to talk trash on them, but CVS and Walgreens, and it's not the greatest place to work.
Oh, dude, they're the pits. What do you mean? It's like,
Pits, yeah.
even going there as a consumer for anything. Like, when you're walking into Walgreens, you're not expecting to have this. I don't know. There's a certain type of experience you're anticipating going to Walgreens or CVS. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So it's pretty bad working environment. The pay's not the greatest, and then you step up, you got like Walmart, and that's better. Harmon's is even, Harmon's is great. And then Costco's just like,
You love
I
Costco.
love Costco. Costco's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, love Costco. Great pay, great benefits. They treat their employees really well. But it's also an environment, they have a bunch of pharmacists there. So like there's enough time for us to actually spend time with the patients and counsel with them and figure out problems, and we're not being rushed or into anything. So
Yeah, to your point.
like I feel like the other stores, it's just dangerous. Like they don't have time to look over things deeply. So there's just mistakes all the time made. And they just don't have time to
Interesting. Okay.
check. Just so mistakes
cool.
are happening.
I never would have thought of that. Maybe I should, I don't know, have my prescription set to Costco from now on.
I mean, yeah. I think it's a little dangerous.
I never would have considered that. Yeah.
You only have one, maybe two pharmacists there, and they're filling 800 scripts a day. They got to check 400 a piece, ish. So it's like
That's crazy. Wow. Yeah. I never thought of that. That's good to know.
a little dangerous. So yeah, it's not good for the customer. I mean, you could tell too. Whenever you call them or you're just interacting with them, they're just always in a rush.
Yeah. It's frantic.
It's just frantic. So totally complete opposite like Harmon's or.
But you want to be on the retail side, but you just hope to be away from those.
Yeah, I want to be retail side. Just don't want to be in the those other stores. So hospital's fun. I mean, it's great because it's a little. You got to see patients and you got to do a lot of clinical stuff in a hospital, but I don't know. The pay is a little less, which I think is a little weird, maybe because they have.
Interesting. You think it's higher stakes.
Yeah, it might be a little higher stakes. It requires more education for some spots. They got to do 2 years of residency for like specialized stuff. But they get paid less. So.
It's bizarre.
But it's also not. I kind of like the faster pace. Hospital can get kind of boring for me sometimes.
You would, dude. Yeah, you can't sit still, man.
Yeah,
That's true.
So you're just sitting in you're sitting in an office chair a lot. I don't know.
Yeah. I can see the value in it, though, of being able to, like, I don't know, spend time with your clients. So that's cool. I never knew that. I think I'm going to start getting my prescriptions sent to Costco because of this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
I mean, one thing, too, I would always recommend for anybody listening, too. Even if you've been taking the medication for a long time, ask the pharmacist for, like, a full counsel. Full counsel.
Full counsel?
Just, like, everything you need to know about medication, like the medications you're taking. Because as a intern or as a student, I counsel people on their medications no matter what. I don't care if they ask, if we'll ask them, do you have any questions about your medications? And I'll be like, they'll always say no, right? Everybody says no. I don't have any questions. I've been taking it for 10 years. But then I'll go into and I'll start counseling them like they've never taken it before. And they're like, oh, I didn't know it can cause that. I've actually experienced this. I'm like, well, you should. You've been experiencing this joint pain, for example, right, for 5+ years, and you could have easily just taking swap to a different medication or taking this vitamin to help with that pain, and you couldn't, you've been living with this pain. It's not needed,
Right.
So I have always just counseled people as if they'd never taken it before.
Now that you mention it, what are your thoughts on the pharmaceutical industry on a bigger scale? I'm sure you heard the term big pharma.
Big
right?
pharma, it's probably a little controversial and debatable, but they're just for money. They're trying to get their money.
I feel like there's corruption in any industry at any level, right?
And everything.
But just you being so close to it, I don't know. I wonder if you had any special
There's
on it.
there's definitely a lot of corruption. They're there for money. There's a lot of books and stuff on big pharma issues, and it'll just open your eyes pretty deeply. I mean, I can get into some if you'd like, but
Please, a little bit. Just give me a
a
little
little bit.
taste.
All
Just
right.
a little taste.
Well, I've always, as a pharmacy technician, and an intern, people are always complaining that this generic drug isn't working at all. And you're always like, whatever. They have to go through efficacy testing. It has to be like equivalent in dosing and strength, like everything. So I've always blown that off, like whatever. You're just seeking a specific drug or specific manufacturer. But no, like there's a lot of books out there that describes how these generic medications are made and approved and manufactured, and it's a little ugly. So specifically, I can pull up maybe a book suggestion.
Yeah, please, real quick.
So the book is called Bottle of Lies by Catherine Eben. Yeah, it goes over a bunch of whistleblowers and a bunch of audits and stuff that they've done over in India, where most of the generic medications are made, and it's pretty wild what they find.
So
Now when people say, "Oh, this manufacturer's not working," I'm like, "Okay, yeah, we'll let's swap you." I don't judge, or I would kind of judge them, but not no more.
I never would have thought of that. So like when you go into Walmart or whatever, and there's like the name brand, and then there's the Great Value brand, and it still says the exact same like chemical name or whatever underneath it.
Yeah.
Even though it says that, they're actually different.
It's the same
lot of time.
active ingredient, but how it's made, the dosing could be varied. Some could have contaminations in it, and efficacy could wane because of bunch of different reasons.
That's so interesting. I never would have thought of that. Okay.
Yeah, but studies that are done are corrupted too. Some studies, you have like for example, the biggest one that people might know about. Well, there's two. I'll say two examples. So the manufacturer of an aspirin, so Bayer or Bayer, you probably see them when they're, they usually sell baby aspirin or low dose aspirin. They a long time, I don't know how long, but in the past they've sold contaminated medication that was infected with HIV.
Wait. I think I heard that one. I heard something about that. Maybe it was that I heard.
Yeah, there's things like that goes on, and another one with Alzheimer's disease. The main big study that links, I guess about Alzheimer's was falsified. They put false pictures and graphs in there, and so what makes me mad about that is we have this foundational study, and everybody starts kind of building the foundation from that study, and then you have all these years wasted searching for the wrong thing, and all this money, billions of dollars that's wasted. So now you have, who knows if they wouldn't have done that corruption, if that wasn't there, how far along Alzheimer's would we, be right now?
Yeah.
How much more would we know if that base wasn't corrupt? So
That's very interesting. And that's the thing too, man, is I definitely will put my tinfoil hat on for a handful of things. I mean, you'd be crazy to believe every conspiracy theory you hear, but you'd be crazy not to believe any.
yeah,
Because I heard this comedian say it once, and I think it's brilliant, is he's like, I love my kids more than anything, but I lie to them all the time. Do you really think the government has never lied? Do you think that they are just batting 100 and they always have your best interest at heart? And not even the government, it also comes down to, where the money is,
Yeah.
right? And it's money talks. From like a very simple level is, oh, hey, politician, I'll pay big money for your campaign to get you in office if you can, vote these way on policies that'll help my company. Yeah. I get money, you get money, the American people suffer, right? Yeah. The same thing with every little industry. And so, I don't know, when I hear about this, I don't know, it's very interesting. And I really do feel bad. And I feel like there are great opportunities for cures and advancements in medicine, stuff like that are hindered by people with big money,
Yeah, they're just, seeking money. I don't know, medications, cures, vaccines. There's just a bunch of stuff that, I don't know, people are just seeking money.
Yeah.
So, just a little corrupt.
Corruption in every industry.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, in closing, what impact do you hope to leave on others before you die?
I am a youth advisor, or just like youth group advisor, youth activity. I'm in charge of a bunch of group and activities and stuff. And I bring that up because I want to see more people just enjoying the outdoors. So like for this youth group, I've been an advisor over several youth groups, and it's awesome to see and really open their eyes about like what's out there in the world. So, for example, we'll go out, we'll make bows for bow fishing, and we'll have some companies even sponsor it and give us free products to do it. They love helping out the youth, and we'll go out bow fishing. That's something they've never heard of, or so we love doing that. Ice fishing is unheard of for a lot of people. For me growing up, when I first started, it's like, oh, ice fishing, you're going to fall through and die.
Yeah.
But after, once you learn ice thickness and how much weight it can hold, there's even charts out there. You just learn to, trust it really well. I mean, there's measures you can take, you have little ice picks around your neck you can take to get out. But I mean, I've fallen through before, and it's pretty easy to get out. So it's not what
that's legit, man. That's crazy.
So I mean, if you're prepared with the right stuff, it's cake. Just go out there and enjoy it. You do have to have the right stuff, though. If you're ill prepared, it can be dangerous, and you definitely don't want to fall through and not be prepared for that. But there's special techniques to get out of the ice. But I mean, all that you just need to teach to the other people, because other people don't. I think that's the limiting factor why people don't start new hobbies. It's because they don't know how to get into it. They don't know what's safe. They don't know really how to do it or where to do it. That's another reason why I kind of started YouTube, try and help people to start these new things, especially bow fishing. Bow fishing is a growing sport. Especially over here in the West. In the South, the East, it's pretty big already. But it's a growing sport here in the West, and a lot of people don't get into it because they just don't know how.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of the cheapest outdoor sports you can ever get into. So
very cool.
Yeah, I don't know, trying to help and teach others about the outdoors. I'm trying to remember your exact question again, though.
No, yeah, that's the impact you want to leave on others.
Yeah.
Get them outside.
Yeah.
Get them outdoors.
That's the impact I want to leave. And so, yeah.
Love that.
I say.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, getting to know you. You're a solid guy. I appreciate it. Thanks for being a person of Utah.
Yeah. Oh, Tyler referred me to you, right?
Yeah, Tyler Bird. Shout out, dude.
Shout out to Tyler Bird.
So no longer a person of Utah, but he is welcome anytime.
Yeah, of course. So funny thing so me and Tyler actually started our fishing Instagram together, and kind of our YouTube together.
Oh, really?
So that's it also started with Tyler. So
very cool. All right. Well, appreciate you, Tyler. Shout out. All right, man. Well, hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on,
man. Thanks for coming on, dude. Take it easy.
Thanks.